Listening to the Casting for Fun podcast, the show that talks about entertainment, sports, music, and inspirational stories for all to enjoy. We're glad you could join us today. Sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. Now, here is your host, Albert Pineda.
Welcome, everybody, to the Casting for Fun podcast. I am your host, Albert Pineda. And for this week's episode, I'm going to be doing a special episode to honor my wife, Allison, who's celebrating her birthday. This episode is going to be released on Tuesday, August the 16th, which is her birthday. And I really wanted to give this opportunity to ask Allison some questions about her life, share her life experiences, tell the story of how she decided to become a labor and delivery nurse, which I think is really fascinating. And I know this will be an episode that as our kids get older, Avery and Liam, that they'll want to listen to so they can get to know their mom a little better. But I think a lot of Allison's friends may not be aware of some of her life experiences and life stories. So I think this will be a fun episode to listen to if you love Allison, especially for me, because I do. And yeah, so this should be a really fun episode for everyone to listen to get to know Allison a little bit better. So here we go. This is my conversation with Allison. Returning to the Casting for Fun podcast after doing a very excellent job of hosting the show herself is my wonderful wife, Allison. Allison, how are you today?
Hello, I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing very well, thank you. And happy early birthday to you, sweetheart.
Thank you.
We're recording this episode a few nights early. Allison's birthday is August 16th, which will be this coming Tuesday. So those who are listening to the podcast, you'll be able to listen to it on Allison's birthday. But similar to how Allison did an episode to me, I wanted to do an episode for her to give Allison's history, just to talk about her. She has a really cool, awesome history, stuff that happened to her in her life before she actually ever met me. And I think that'd be really interesting and fun for the listeners. And I was even thinking in my mind that a lot of people who are really good friends of Allison may not know all these specific details and some of her cool stories. So I think it'll be really fun to share this for her on her birthday.
You make me sound way cooler than I really am, but thanks.
No, you're definitely great. You're wonderful, sweetheart.
You're biased.
Yeah, I am. Yeah. Okay, very cool. Anything that you wanted to talk about or discuss before we jump into specific questions that I have for you?
No, I'm good. Thanks.
Okay, very good. Very good. Let's jump into this. Okay, so you've mentioned many times that you are a Southern California native and that Glendora is your hometown. But technically, you weren't actually born here. So I wanted to get an insight from you. If you can tell me your early life history. So where were you born in the early life? What early life was like for the Sharp family?
Okay, so I was born in Provo, Utah. And my first 5 years were in Provo-Orem area. And I don't remember a ton about it. I do remember some scenarios with snow. I remember playing with a little dog we had. My dad was a general contractor at the time, and they built their first home there. So I do remember walking around on the foundation of our first home that he built. So not a lot. And then when we turned 5, my mom just started looking for a job for my dad and found one at USC. She didn't even know what it really was because, she's not from the United States. But she called my dad and said, "Hey, have you heard of this place called USC? Because I got a job interview for you there." And of course, my dad flipped out because USC is USC. And so they got a job and moved here without any place to stay, really. And as luck would have it and coincidence would have it, my mom made really good friends right away, which is what she does. And we ended up staying in the McKay's house, which are the McKays related to our friends, the McKays, and to Holly's family. And so we lived there initially in California. Our very first night we moved in, there was a giant earthquake. We were all sleeping on the floor in sleeping bags. And I remember waking up and being like, what have our parents brought us to? Where are we? What is going on? I do remember that.
Oh, very cool. Very cool. And at this time, it would have just been you and Carrie. Is that right?
Right.
Okay, okay.
Yeah.
But you guys didn't stay in Southern California. You ended up moving around quite a bit, right? So where were some of the other cities that you lived in before your family kind of finally settled down in Glendora?
Yeah, so I mean, I consider Glendora home because we lived there for a long time, but we ended up moving to Utah. We lived in Payson, Utah, which is just outside of Provo for about 2 years when I was
Okay.
junior in high school. Sorry. When I was a junior in high school, we moved to Utah and we lived there for 2 years. And then after I graduated, my dad went to BYU, Provo at that time to get a degree. And then after we graduated from there, he moved us to Ohio to Mansfield, which is just outside of Columbus. And we lived there for 2 more years. And then I actually ended up staying there for college for a little bit. But he did that to get his master's degree. So he initially went and got his bachelor's, then he got his master's, and then my parents moved back to California after that.
Very cool. Very cool. So I wanted to ask you about a little bit more about your time in Payson. So I'm assuming that's where you met your very dear friend Jenny, who's been your friend ever since, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it was really, really cool. So Allison has a very awesome, wonderful friend, Jenny. What would have been her maiden name before she got married?
Curtis.
Jenny Curtis, yeah. And so much so that when Jenny got married to her husband Jared and they had kids, their kids Michaela and Riker essentially became the niece and nephew for Allison because she was such a close relationship with them. And we got to go to visit Payson last year for Michaela's wedding when she got married. So that obviously is a very special occasion for Allison to see her quote unquote niece get married, which was really cool. And she got to kind of explain and show around Payson a little bit to me and some of the things she did for fun. Like, what's that game? This is what I wanted to ask you about. That game where you're driving around in a small city where everybody knows each other, and then you see someone and then you pick them up in your car. Explain that game to me. I think it's really fun and cool.
We played it in high school. It's called Dragging Main.
Okay.
It's where you go down the one main street in your whole town because the cities were so small. And you just drive up and down the street all night long and you wave to people that you know, stop and pull over and talk to them for a little bit. And we kind of used it as a way of like flirting with other guys too. So if you saw a car full of guys that you were into, you pulled over and talked to each other. It sounds so stupid now telling you, but it was like the cool thing to do in high school.
Well, it sounds so funny to me because, again, me growing up in a big city, not saying Temple City is a huge city, but we're surrounded by huge amounts of people. Not to the point where we're a small city where, like Allison is describing, in that everybody knows each other. I mean, for me, that's just a weird concept to be driving around the main street, like, say, driving on Las Tunas Drive in Temple City and stopping, hey, I know so-and-so, let me catch them. Like, that doesn't happen. So for Allison to explain to me that's what they did in their city of Payson it was really funny and cool and kind of weird and strange, but I still thought it was a really funny experience for Allison to talk about that.
But this is the funniest part. Like Payson didn't even have a big enough main street, so we went to the city next to us.
Oh, okay.
We went to Spanish Fork, and that was the biggest main street we had.
Oh, that's so funny.
Yeah.
Very cool, very cool. So as you mentioned, you grew up in lots of different cities and neighborhoods, but Glendora has been your family's home. Why is Glendora so special? Why would it resonate so well with the Sharp family?
Oh, good question. I think because we have such good ties with strong families there. So when you raise your children with other people's children, then you get to know them really well. And so we had a lot of families that we spent years and years and years while I was growing up there. And then later on when my brothers were growing up there, when we moved back, that just basically raised their kids with us. And it really bonds you and ties you. So it feels like home to me because to this day, when I see somebody that I grew up with in Glendora, it's special and that feels like home.
Very good, very good. So now this leads me to the question so you finish high school and you're ready to move on to a major milestone in your life, what you're going to be doing for career and studying after that. And that's when you decided that you wanted to go into nursing, right?
Well, officially, but I had wanted to be a nurse since I was 8 years old.
Oh, okay. Share that experience with everybody.
So I just remember at 8 playing with Barbies and they would be delivering babies. And I remember going to my mom and saying, Mom, I want to help deliver babies one day. Not really even understanding what that meant, but just knowing that's what I wanted to help do. And she said, well, if that's what you want to do, don't ever let anything stop you. And I never did. Every experience I've had since then has reinforced that desire. And when there were challenges, I just leaned back on that piece of advice from her and just moved forward. So by the time I got to college education time, I knew exactly what I wanted to do, which was a real gift because most people don't know, I don't think.
Yeah, absolutely. It's something that I struggled with in my own personal life. So walk me through it. Well, how does one go through? What was your experience? What was your journey like becoming a nurse? What did you have to do for education? And basically, what did you do to start out?
Good question. So I went to BYU Provo and I was accepted to their nursing degree program. And it was a 4-year bachelor's program. And the first couple of years were general recs, and then the last 2 years were nursing specific classes. And along with those 2 years was clinical scenarios where you would go to hospitals and follow other nurses around. And so I did that for 2 years. And then by the end of the 4 years, I had graduated with my bachelor's of science in nursing.
Awesome. Very good. Very good. So with this whole experience, I mean, I think you mentioned that there were several people who helped inspire you and were very helpful to you in this journey. Can you talk a little more towards that?
Yeah, I mean, one of the big things was a few of the professors. There was one professor, Kent is his name, and we actually still keep in touch all these years later. And he was my ICU rotation professor, and he really just inspired me. ICU wasn't anything that I was really particularly interested in going into it, but by the end of that rotation, I was really enjoying it because he helped light a spark of how exciting nursing is and how rewarding it can be, and just continued to encourage me. I had several friends that were nurses, specifically in labor and delivery, family friends, Marilyn Dowdle, Margot McKay. They were both L&D nurses, and they were ones that were very patient and let me like sit down and pick their brains over and over again. So that was really helpful. And then I even went on and like was a candy striper, which was a volunteer, what they called the volunteers, when I was like 12 or 13. And I volunteered in a labor and delivery department and got to know the nurses there. That was in Payson. And it was really sweet to develop relationships and be encouraged there. So people along the way just kind of kept encouraging me. The other thing that really helped is my mom let me go in for a couple of her deliveries. And so the first one was Cameron's, and I went into his delivery and cut his umbilical cord. And I was so excited from that experience that I couldn't sleep for 3 days afterwards. My parents had to actually get a prescription for some sleeping pills to knock me out because I was so excited. And that just reinforced that this is what I wanted to do. And then I was there and practically delivered Katie. I mean, my mom pretty much like did it on her own, but I helped deliver Katie when she was born, and that cemented it as well. So having my mom let me in on those deliveries and be a part of them was really exciting and reinforcing.
Awesome, wonderful, babe. So, what I wanted to ask you now is, again, that all the time that we've been married together, there's been unfortunately days when you come in to me just explaining how stressful and hard and difficult and some of the challenges, the hard things you have to do when you're being an L&D nurse. So, I don't want to focus on that. If you could share some of your more wonderful, inspiring, and uplifting experiences and stories that you've had through helping women get through the ordeal of having to give birth.
Oh, that's awesome. I think some of the best experiences I've had have been the friendships I've developed with the patients. Like Sarah Kelly was a patient of mine initially. Jennifer Van Workum was a patient of mine. I delivered other friends too, and just getting to know them. Like I have a friend, Debbie Couts. I don't know if she'll watch this, but or listen to this, but she and I became friends because I took care of her. And I have dozens of friends now that I took care of as patients, but going through that experience with them really bonds you. And so I think that's the best thing that's come out of my work experience has been those patients that have become friends so close. Also the friendships that I've developed through my staff and coworkers. The rewarding scenarios, like when things go really, really bad and patients are sick, or I've had patients that nearly died and babies that nearly died, but when you do all the right steps and everything works together as a team, then having those scenarios work out in the end are really rewarding because you're literally saving lives. It's so exciting to be able to do that. And then even like the sad times, like there's been patients who have experienced loss and family members who have experienced loss that I've been a part of. oh gosh, I'm going to get all emotional, but being there for them in those scenarios and being able to help support them in their hardest days, their darkest days, and showing love and helping others feel the spirit, even if they might not be members of the church, has really been rewarding. So it's all about the relationships that we've developed, along with being able to actually practically help other people through what I've learned and what my experiences have been.
Awesome. That's wonderful, babe. Thank you so much for sharing. It's really great for me just to reflect and think about that in the 7.5 years, almost 8 years that we've been married, that I have a wonderful, amazing, loving, caring woman who's my wife, Allison. And it's great that I get to see her every day and see how great and wonderful and how she cares for me, for our kids. And it's awesome for me to think that, the same woman is going to the hospital when she works and she's showing the same love and care and devotion to her patients too. So in my mind, I'm thinking, you know what, my the patients, they're really lucky to have Allison. They really are. And it's actually, I wanted to bring up something that I thought was kind of funny, that I remember you had told me before, that sometimes when couples come in, they don't have names prepared, right? They don't know what they're going to name their child, which is kind of strange and weird for you and I, because I mean, we had already prepared, like, months before, even though we had to talk about it for several months leading up to it, that we wanted to name Avery. But for couples that don't have a name picked out, and if they're having a girl, you've actually been able to convince some of them to actually name their daughter Allison, right?
That's right. Yeah, I've had a couple of challenges just because I like to always push myself in my career. One of them was to get as many Allisons named after me as I could.
It's spelled the same way as your name, right?
Spelled the same way, very much important. And so what I would often do is when I find out that the patient doesn't have a name for their daughter, I would say something like, hey, if I take really, really, really good care of you all day long, give you a really positive experience, will you name your daughter Allison? And there's been 35 patients that have named their daughters Allison because of that.
Awesome.
So it's kind of, it's kind of conceited, but it's kind of just a fun little fact that I love to have that challenge.
No, it's pretty cool. I like that. That's really cool. You're building your army of Allisons, as you put it. But then there's been a few people that I think were automatically just impressed by you and didn't even need that push from you, that were willing to do it, like Sarah Kelly, right?
Yeah, Sarah Kelly actually volunteered it, which was really sweet. She named her daughter's middle name Allison.
Yeah.
Sawyer's middle name is Allison, and she and Josh presented that scenario to me, which was really, really touching. Like, to this day, that means so much to me.
Awesome. Very good. Very good. Was there anything else about nursing that you wanted to bring up? I wanted to make sure we give a good amount of time for that, because I know it's a huge, important part of your life.
Yeah, I think that's a good way of putting it. I feel like it's more of a calling than a profession. Like, I really was meant to be where I am, doing what I am with my career, and I'm really grateful for the experiences that I have. I still feel very excited to go to work for the most part. I mean, there's definitely days that are hard, but I still feel very passionate and grateful that I have that passion and enthusiasm. And then I'm also really grateful to now be teaching and sharing that with other students, and trying to build that desire and passion with them and be that mentor to them.
Awesome. Wonderful. Thank you, sweetheart, so much. I'm grateful that we have this chance to talk and share feelings about this, because not just Allison, but I've gotten to see so many wonderful hospital administrators and nurses and doctors through the various things that we've had to do, like with Liam last year when he had to be in the ICU. Right. Mm-hmm. So nurses are the unsung heroes of the world. I mean, there's not enough adoration and respect and reverence we can give to them. So thank you to Allison, and thank you to all the nurses for all you do. You're wonderful.
I trained him right, or what, folks? Like, seriously, I've trained him right.
Okay, well, if there's nothing else with nursing, let's go ahead and move on a little bit more to a few other questions that I have.
Okay.
So I know with you and your family, travel's been a really big, amazing thing that you guys gotten to do as a family, which is really cool. And you guys have gotten to visit so many exotic locations throughout the world. So I was hoping you could share some of your favorite travel experiences with your family and some of your amazing destinations that you've gotten to see.
Oh, that's awesome. I don't even know where to start. Well, my mom grew up traveling a lot, and so she instilled that love for it in us. And fortunately, when I first graduated, I was single and living at home, and I took on 2 jobs and spent a lot of that money to travel and pay for my family to travel all over. And so we were able to go pretty much where I wanted to take us. And some of my big list spots have been Africa because of my mom's background there. So we've been able to see family there and go on safari quite a bit, see some of the more remote areas of Africa, Southern Africa particularly. So that definitely stands out. I mean, there's been so many scenarios of wildlife in Africa that have been really just amazing to be a part of watching. But we even went to impoverished villages, I guess you would call them, and met some of the kids there, went to schools and served there. And so that's touching to me that we had the opportunity to see the kids in their real world and to serve and to help them, and we donated and gave time and energy and stuff to them. We My other favorite place that we went to is to Israel, to Jerusalem, and Bethlehem, and some of the areas where the Savior was.
Awesome.
That was on my bucket list, to be able to take my family to walk where the Savior walked. And it's very humbling to think about where he had been. And it was very educational. The culture's so different there. We had a wonderful time. And I think those are the two that stand out. We went to other places throughout Europe, and those are some fun experiences too. We've been all over the US. But I think those two are the ones that were my favorite, going to Israel and going to Africa.
Awesome. Very good. Very good. It's actually kind of funny. So when Allison and I first started dating, or when we were first set up on our blind date, Allison admitted to doing a little bit of Facebook stalking of me, by looking at my profile to see what she was seeing. So it's kind of funny if I think back, okay, what if I had started this podcast way back then? That's probably like the number one thing I talk about on my Facebook profile now. But yeah, so she did Facebook stalking of me, and I had done some Facebook stalking of her as well. So I don't know if I ever told you that.
No.
Okay, yeah. So I got to see a lot of those pictures that you were talking about, where you and your family got to see the impoverished children. They were like foremost, right there. That you didn't have to go through digging. You're actually able to find them very quickly on your profile. So that was kind of an impressive thing, I thought, that you can see how much the Sharp family really cares for those people. That was really wonderful to see, I thought.
Oh, that's cool. Thanks for sharing. I didn't know you were stalking me.
Oh, that's so funny. Oh, okay, cool. So the question I would have to ask now then is, now that we have our family, we have Liam and we have Avery, where would be a destination that you would want to go to now, specifically to see them? Whether it's somewhere you've already been and you really want to show Avery and Liam, or somewhere you haven't been and you think it'd be a really fun destination for us as a family.
Oh, good question. So the first thing that comes to mind is we had some family friends that whenever their kids would turn 14, the age of Joseph Smith, the prophet who helped with our religion starting, they would take them to the Sacred Grove and to some of the church sites. And that's like something that I really would like to do with our kids. It's really important to me to take them to some of those locations. And then, I mean, and their sky's the limit. Like, there's no place I wouldn't want to take them. I'd love to take them outside the US for sure and see what other countries and cultures are like. I think it's really important to see that your world is not just your little small village that you live in. And then all over the US, like, I'd love to take them to some of the places we've been together, to show them places that are special to us and to some places we've never experienced before. So I don't know that I have like a specific place other than the church history sites, but I would love to just travel forever and go as far and as big as we can.
Awesome, very cool. And at her young age, Avery has already been quite the world traveler. I mean, we took her to the both far ends of the country, all the way to Florida and all the way to Hawaii. So definitely looking forward to the further adventures that we'll have with Avery and with Liam as well. That should be pretty exciting to see.
For sure.
Anything else with travel or vacation destinations?
I don't think so.
Okay, no, perfect. So I wanted to ask a few more questions that kind of get more into like the personality of Allison.
Uh-oh.
So no,
Watch out, world.
No, these are fun questions. These will be really cool. So we mentioned before, I mean, we did an episode talking about Friends extensively, because Friends is one of Allison's all-time favorite shows. And I definitely want to talk about some movies that she loves as well. But again, being able to just relax and sit down on the couch and enjoy each other's companies after the kids have gone to bed is one of our favorite things to do. Mm-hmm. We refer to it simply as vegging, because like we're like a vegetable, right?
Right. You didn't know what that term was
before
me.
No. I just thought of it as like relaxing or just like chilling or watching TV. But Allison, I guess, coined the phrase vegging, and it stuck with me ever since we got married.
I remember when you were like, "What's vegging?"
Okay, so for vegging, we would watch a lot of shows and we would binge watch shows, because again, we just enjoy each other's company. Comedies, I think, tend to be some of the things that we enjoy the most. And it was great to kind of go with NBC sitcoms, so we did Friends together because I had never seen it. But then I got to introduce Allison to some other NBC sitcoms that she had never seen. like The Office, Community, and Parks and Recreation, which is the one I want to talk about right now.
Okay.
So, in an episode, the Pawnee Rangers, it's a really fun episode where they're doing their own like Boy Scouts, Girl Scouts thing. But the subplot of that episode is when Donna and Tom introduced Treat Yourself Day, which is awesome, just really fun. I love it. It's the best episode of the whole show. So what I would add to ask you, Allison, and for all those who are familiar with the show, what would be your ideal way of treating yourself if you could? Money's no object, but you can only do it within a 24-hour span of time.
Money's no object?
Yeah.
Oh, that's hard. I mean, I probably would love to like get on like some kind of private plane and fly to New York and shop and see a Broadway play and take the kids to dinner, some fancy pizza place. Like that'd be my thing. And just like get a massage, manicure, pedicure, go eat some street hot dogs. Like that would be my ideal day.
That'd be pretty cool. In fact, it's kind of funny. So on the show, they did a sequel episode to Treat Yourself Day, where in this episode, Donna and Tom, they flew to LA and they went to Beverly Hills. So, I mean, because they're located in the fictional town of Pawnee, Indiana. So for them, they would come from the East Coast this way. So it's kind of a reverse of what you would do.
Yeah, I would go to New York for the day with my family.
Okay, very cool.
Yeah.
And then speaking of vegging, so together as a couple, we've gotten to watch so many shows and movies and stuff like that. Grease was a movie that I had never seen before. And, you know, with the recent passing now of Olivia Newton-John, I think it's a perfect opportunity for us to revisit and watch Grease again.
Mm-hmm.
So if you can recount to that, why is Grease so impactful and important to you?
Oh, super easy. My mom has, like, especially when she was much younger, was always told that she looked like Olivia Newton-John. And in pictures of her much younger, she does. And so it just kind of stuck with me, and it's something that was special to me because she liked it. And then she played it for me when I was really, really young. And I just love the songs. I love the storyline. I loved the good girl, bad girl thing. Like, it's just such a great movie. I love it.
Oh, awesome. Awesome. So what will be some of your other favorite movies then?
Oh, let's see if you know them.
Okay, let's see if I do. Okay.
Okay, put you on the spot.
Okay, well, I can tell you right now that her all-time favorite movie is Ever After with Drew Barrymore.
Mm-hmm.
And we have a funny story about that, but I'll share it another time.
Okay.
Okay, so besides that, the original Footloose, the Kevin Bacon one. I've never seen the other one with Julianne Hough. I don't know if that one's good. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Trying to think of some of your other really favorite
I can't
ones.
believe you're forgetting some of these.
Oh, I should have known.
The number one, like, guy movie that I love.
The number one guy movie that Allison loves.
The number one movie actor.
Oh, okay, yeah. Thank you for reminding me. So I mean, you could have said, "Hey, you just talked about it in a previous episode of your podcast."
That. Yeah,
we
should rewatch them. You said that in your previous.
Yeah,
podcast.
I did. Yeah, so Allison is obviously referring to Johnny Depp in Pirates of the Caribbean, the first one, The Curse of the Black Pearl. Even though I do believe you love all 5 movies, right?
I do.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I love the pirate movies. I love Johnny Depp number 1. Sorry, and I love just the bad boy lifestyle of the pirates. I love the music. I love the jokes. I love the characters. They're just such good movies.
Mm-hmm. Very good. Very good. Any other for movies that you wanted to share?
The Marvel movies.
Oh, yeah.
I genuinely like those.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think more deeper cuts, like a movie that maybe you really, really enjoy that maybe we haven't watched yet together.
Pride and Prejudice.
We've seen that one.
Yeah, we've watched
the Keira Knightley one.
The Keira Knightlly one. Yeah, it has to be the Keira Knightley one. I like the Bourne movies.
Oh yeah, those I knew about that as well. Yeah.
You like those. You're trying to find one that you didn't know that I like?
Yeah, maybe like a really deep cut one. So like again, a lot of your friends are mutual friends of mine, and I know you talk to a lot of them pretty frequently on Marco Polo and stuff like that. So I'm trying to think, is there an exclusive that I can give the listeners that maybe, oh, Allison loves this movie. We didn't know about that.
An exclusive?
Yeah, an exclusive to the Casting for Fun podcast. Really, really deep cut.
Newsies?
No, Newsies not quite deep enough because I knew you like that one. We watched that one too.
Well, you probably know all the ones that I like.
I probably do. Yeah.
Sandlot?
No, we said Sandlot. I know you love Sandlot. Yeah.
You might have to edit my brain thinking.
I'll do that. Don't worry.
You're thinking like one that no one would think that I like.
Yeah, or maybe one that I forgot that you like. Maybe I already knew, or if there's something about it, like, oh, it just never came up. So maybe not necessarily one of your all-time favorites, but
I
I'm
don't
trying to
know.
think to maybe like a romantic comedy movie that we haven't seen. Because I mean, we've seen Sweet Home Alabama. That's
That's
one of
one
your
of my favorites.
favorites.
Yeah.
Failure to Lunch.
Oh, that's not a good one.
I thought you liked it.
No,
You you you
that is a stupid
you
movie.
made me buy
I made you
it.
buy it?
Yeah, the
No.
one with Sarah Jessica Parker and Matthew
No, I did
McConaughey.
not.
Yes, you
You're
did.
full of
Oh
it.
my goodness.
Never buy that movie. Matthew McConaughey's stupid.
Oh my goodness. Like I can't get a refund now. Thanks a lot for making me buy that.
I don't know. I don't know what else I would have liked that you would be surprised by.
Okay, that's
I
okay.
mean, the only ones I can think of, 10 Things I Hate About You.
We've seen that one. Yeah.
Okay, well, see, we've been married for almost 8 years. You've seen them all with me.
I guess I have, but I'm just trying to think if there was anything like, maybe more obscure from the 80s.
Oh, Pretty in Pink, but you know I like that.
No, I've seen that many times, yeah.
And Breakfast Club.
And Breakfast Club, yeah.
Yeah. Those are my two favorites from back then.
Okay.
Sorry to disappoint.
No, that's okay. That's okay. It's never disappointing with Allison. In fact, I think it's kind of a fun conversation that people will find interesting and funny.
I can't believe you think I made you buy Failure to Launch.
No, I'm positive that you
That is
did.
not true.
Yes.
It is so not.
Okay. Anything else with movies and TV shows?
Um, what about Chuck?
Oh, Chuck, that's definitely a great show that we watched together, and it was really fun to build our relationship together. Watching it long distance, actually, initially when we were still long distance dating, and then binge watching it together. We've been binge watched it at least 2 or 3 times, which is really cool. And then we've gotten to participate in the what's it called, the Zachary Levi's offsite Comic-Con event, the Nerd HQ, which was really cool. So we got to see him up close in person, and he got to have pictures with Yvonne Strahovski, who played Sarah Walker on the show. So yeah, it was definitely a really memorable experience, I think, for us.
And we dressed up like them.
We did. Yeah, that was really fun. So one of those things that Allison may not have normally have done with dating or being married to some other guy, but she did it for me.
Definitely not. No, but it's fun. I enjoy it.
Okay.
It's fun. It's not something I would choose to have done,
Yeah.
but it's fun.
Yeah. Okay, well, thank you for indulging me.
Yes, you're welcome.
Okay, so I wanted to close out with the question that you had asked me. What's your favorite thing about being a wife and a mother?
Oh, that's tough. Favorite thing about being a wife, I think, is supporting you, because it's been really rewarding to see you have things like the podcast where you want to do something and I get to support you in it, and school and your job and your church callings and things that are important to you, and to being able to say, yeah, I'm here for you. What can I do to help? That's probably my favorite part about it. Having someone that supports me is huge too. And so just that team effort. You always say that we can get through anything if we do it as a team. Remember that?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And we've had a lot of challenges in our married life. I mean, everybody does, but we have had a lot. And we just keep getting through it as a team. So I'm grateful for you.
Well, thank you.
Favorite thing about being a mother is watching my children grow and develop, and seeing their personalities, seeing their interests, being a part to their everyday life. Like, what a privilege that is. It's such a gift to be able to see these sweet souls grow and develop, and hope I don't screw them up as they go.
Oh, I guarantee that you won't. In fact, I think a lot of mothers kind of like second guess themselves. Like if you go back and listen to my parents' episode, my mom thought that she did, but I can guarantee you she did not, and I can guarantee you that Allison will not. So thank you to all the mothers too. We was talking about nurses, hospital workers. Thank you to the wonderful mothers and the mother-like women who are in our lives, who may not be our biological mothers, but still love us as if they were. So
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Yeah, add that in. Good job.
No, thanks.
I have trained you well.
Yes, you have. Were there any other like stories you wanted to share? Maybe not so much about nursing or school, or any cool or fun, interesting stories you'd like to share before we wrap up?
I think we should talk about my April Fool's pranks.
Oh, sure. I mean, this is your interview, so whatever you would like to do is fine. So Allison is very mischievous. I'm sure everyone who knows her knows that about her. And she's done some really inventive pranks on not just me, but on lots of people. And what I will also point out is Allison does it from a place of endearment. I mean, she not ill-natured at all. She just wants to have fun and be silly because that's her personality. So yes, go ahead and share some of your favorite pranks, whether it's been on me or family members, friends, people that are closest to you.
Well, my favorite one is still the one that's been done on you with the dog.
Oh.
That's my favorite one ever.
Okay, go ahead and share that story.
Oh, a lot of people have heard it, but I'll share it because it is so good. So, for those who don't know, Albert's not as much of a pet person, but I'm a huge dog lover and I really want a dog when our lifestyle accommodates that. So I've always kind of teased Albert that one day I'm just going to come home with the dog and he better be prepared with it. And one year I'd had a really rough year. In fact, I just had a miscarriage like the month before and before April Fool's Day. And I said, hey, there's some dogs at Target that someone's giving away. Can I have one? And sweet Albert didn't want to say no because I'd had such a rough month. And so he was like, well, let's discuss it and let's see. But I borrowed our friend Steph and Ryan's dog, Oreo, and brought him over with all of his stuff, his crate, his bed, everything. And Albert walked in the door of our apartment and I'm like, surprise, I got a dog. And he was so sweet in his genuinely good way. He embraced it for my sake, even though I could tell he wasn't thrilled. We even named Oreo Wicket. And he was playing with Wicket and feeding him. And about 2 hours go by and Steph and Ryan had arranged to come over. And as they walked in the door, Oreo ran over to them. And that's when Albert made the connection and realized, oh, wait, this is a prank. Right?
Yeah.
So that's, I mean, it was still my favorite one. But I've done all sorts of stuff. I've done fake food. I've done life-size cutouts. I've done what else, babe? Like
well, I know your sister Katie absolutely detests Justin Bieber.
Oh yeah.
So you did a Justin Bieber prank with her, right?
Yeah, life-size cutout of Justin Bieber.
Okay.
Yeah. I've done fake parking tickets. I've done saran wrap people's cars. I flamingoed a house. What else have I done? There's so many, can't even think of them all anymore.
I'm trying to think. Well, one more that I thought was actually kind of funny that you did. This was early in our marriage. Allison and I are both huge Laker fans. And there's been like, off years and not so good years. Like, I mean, like kind of they're in right now, but
don't talk about that stuff.
And then there's been years that even though the Clippers are not and probably won't be championship quality team anytime soon, there have been years where the Clippers were better. And Allison knows that I really couldn't stand Blake Griffin when he was playing for the Clippers. I mean, I didn't care for the Clippers, but for him especially. So she decorated my car as the Clipper mobile. That was pretty funny with Clipper color streamers, so red, white, and blue, and then a license plate, and then like with the washable paint wrote on like I love Blake, something like that.
I did put that. I forgot about that.
Yeah, that was part that really irked me. Like, oh my goodness, seriously. That was kind of funny.
That was fun. Good times.
Great. Was there anything else you wanted to bring up?
Not that I can think of.
Okay. Well, thank you for taking the time to reflect and share your life stories and experiences. I hope this was entertaining and fun for listeners who love Allison. So whether you're a regular listener of the Casting for Fun podcast or you're just tuning in just to hear this particular happy birthday message to Allison, I hope you learned something new. I hope you're entertained and thought it was fun. And yes, so I'm grateful to be her husband, to be her built-in best friend, and to enjoy every day with Allison. She's a wonderful wife, wonderful mother, and happy birthday to you. I can't say it enough how much I love you and appreciate you for all you do.
Thanks, babe. You really make it special.
Thank you. Okay, so thanks everyone for listening to this episode of the Casting for Fun podcast. We'll talk to you next time.
Bye.